Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles issue number 14 from Mirage Comics. So this came out May 1988. And this one was written by Kevin Eastman and drawn by Kevin Eastman. So yeah, we don't have Laird in this, but we have Kevin Eastman back. And that's a good thing. I missed his artwork. I love Eastman's style. I mean, obviously, I like Kevin Eastman and Peter Laird's style when they're like working together. But this was pretty damn good as well. So yeah, this is the Unmentionables, and which I guess is a take off the Untouchables. And yeah, we pretty much get like a detective, private eye kind of theme going on this. It's the mystery of the stolen cow, basically. So yeah, we have like an old style like private detective monologue going on. And it turns out that it's Casey Jones who's monologuing to himself, and he's walking around the streets of Northampton when he decides to go check out Louis' variety store. And basically, he's talking about like growing up and his cousin and stuff like that, and how his cousin got caught stealing candy one day and just stuff like that, and how many times like they didn't have the money to buy anything, so they would just come here just to look at. And he's like, it's gone. And what's gone is this giant brass cow. It's this giant brass cow that sits on the roof of Louis' variety store, and it's missing. So Casey Jones decides to start questioning Louis about, do you have any enemies, stuff like that. When a cop comes and tells him to mind his own business and that they'll handle it. So Casey Jones kind of storms off. Then we cut to the Turtles, who are just bored at the farmhouse. And April's pissed off because she's going to be late for work when Casey shows up, and he collapses. And basically he's like, the truck broke down and I had to walk through, miles of snow. And, the great cow was stolen. And everyone's kind of like, what the hell is he talking about? So then we cut to April at work. She's a waitress. And while working, she hears two men talking about, we can't be seen together. Tell your boss we have the cow. And April's like, wait, what was that about a cow? And they basically say, leave your information at the front desk of the Hotel Northampton, room 213. And April, that's when she sees like another patron reading a newspaper, and she sees an article about the stolen cow, and she's like, oh right, Casey. So then she calls Casey and tells him, hey, like, I found out where the cow is. I heard these two men talking about it. They mentioned the cow, and they mentioned where they were going to be meeting at. And Casey Jones is like, all right, cool. Like, he decides to go check out the hotel, but the woman at the front desk like won't let him in. So he goes outside and he's kind of bummed. And he's like, all right, how am I going to get inside? When April shows up, and April's like, hey, let me try and figure this one out. So April goes in and she overhears two men. One is Howard and the other one is this Texan guy. And they're talking about how the Texan guy's daughter is going to graduate from college, and they're going to throw a big party and stuff like that. And they're going to have a bunch of guests over. And April's like, all right, that'll be our time to sneak in. So then Casey Jones and April show up later that night, along with the Turtles, and basically they're going to go inside the party while the Turtles can sneak in and go into room 215 and try to find more information about this cow. So Casey and April are mingling with the party guests while the Turtles sneak in, and they find a bunch of pictures of Howard and the Texan and the cow, and they're like, wait, we have the wrong room. We're in room 215. Like, what's going on? We're supposed to be in room 213. Meanwhile, April notices that Howard has seen her, and she knows that Howard overheard her talking to Casey earlier on the phone about the cow. So she goes to hide when she comes across three brothers, Luca, and Michael, or Mikal. I don't know how to pronounce it. I guess I'll just say Mikal. And she, tells them like, hey, like, you got to help me out. There's this guy who's been following me. And that's when Howard shows up along with the Texan. And it turns out that these guys were making a deal with these Smengi brothers. And Smengi brothers like, we have the cow. It's $10 million for the cow. And the Texan is like, all right, Howard, like, you deal with this woman. Like, I don't I don't want any witnesses. We're already like having problems and stuff like that. Just, get her out of here. So Howard's like, all right, here's the deal. Like, I'll deal with this woman later. You take her, and we'll pay you a bit extra. Just keep her off our hands for now. Here's the address. We'll see you in the morning to get the cow, and you'll get your money then. And so the turtles, meanwhile, they look out the window and they see April being taken by the Smeggy brothers into a van, and they jump out of the hotel window and they start, chasing after the van in Casey's truck. So then we cut to Casey Jones, who's in the men's bathroom, and he's just trying to gather himself and figure out what his next course of action should be when two men start coming into the bathroom. And the two men are talking about the Hagley County Fair Prize winner, about like a prized cow. But Casey doesn't hear the fair part. He just hears the prized cow part. So he thinks they're talking about the brass cow. And he overhears them talking about a guy named Norman Whitty, who has basically the cow off of Route 116. And Casey's like, all right, I know where to go now. So he goes outside, realizes that his truck is gone, and so he calls for a taxi. Then we cut to the turtles, who have followed the Smeggy brothers to this looks like an abandoned, not an abandoned building, but maybe like an abandoned farm or something. It's almost like just like a abandoned one-story building. And April's inside, and she's like, you guys are sorry. I bet my friends are here to save me. And of course, the turtles break in. They beat up the Smeggy brothers. They tie them up, and then they start interrogating them. And that's when they tell their story. And basically, what happened is that Louis is their brother. And they all fled from Slovakia before a revolution took place. And Louis took the brass cow, which belonged to their family, and brought it here. Well, now that the revolution is over and the dictator was thrown out, they want to basically sell the cow so that they can have money and they can give the money back to their people. And the turtle's like, wait, why would you sell a brass cow for millions of dollars, $10 million? Like, that doesn't make any sense. And that's when the Smeggy brothers basically like, all right, like, the cow isn't really brass, it's actually gold. It's made of solid gold. We stole it when our country was being taken over because we didn't want the dictator to take the cow, sell it, and then use that money for his evil dictator regime. But now that he's been overthrown, we want to sell the gold cow to the Texan so that he can pay us millions and millions of dollars, and we can use that money and give it back to our people. So Turtle's like, all right, like, I still feel like we don't have the whole story, but whatever, we got to come up with a plan. So they call the Texan and basically say, hey, like, the deal goes down tonight, not tomorrow, and we want an additional $5 million, or we're going to go straight to the cops. So the Texan's pissed off. He tells Howard to get his boys, and they're going to go down to the farm to basically settle this. Meanwhile, Casey, in a taxi, he goes to the location that he heard the two men in the bathroom talking about, and he opens up the farm when he discovers a real live cow. And that's when the farmer who owns the cow shows up with a shotgun, and Casey Jones is like, oh, I gotta go, wrong place. So he jumps in the taxi. He's like, all right, just take me back to the hotel. So then we cut back to the turtles, where they're outside the Smeggy brothers' place, and they have the cow outside. They have a bunch of guns, but the guns are all empty because they don't want to actually shoot anybody. It's just there for show and to kind of scare Howard and the Texan and his men. And yeah, that's when the Texan shows up, and they're like, let's make our deal. But Howard and the Texan are like, first you got to show us the cow. And so they pull the little drape that's covering the cow, and it discovers just a bunch of stones. And like, oh, like, we've been double crossed. And Turtle's like, actually, it's more like triple crossed because I thought this was the gold cow. And before a shootout can happen, the Smeggy brothers, they break out of their building in their truck with the gold cow strapped to the bed of their truck. And Howard and his men are like we got to go after them. So they start chasing after the Smeggy brothers. Meanwhile, April and the Turtles jump into Casey's truck, and they start chasing after as well. And as this is going on, Casey and the taxi driver are passing by the cow, and they're like, oh shit, like, there's the cow right there. Like, turn this taxi around. We got to chase after them. So now everyone's chasing after this truck, and Casey Jones is able to get close enough so he can jump onto the truck and he scares Smeggy Brothers enough to cause them to crash, and the cow, falls out. He's like, all right, you're all under arrest. And that's when Howard and his men show up, and one of the men is like, actually, you're all under arrest. It turns out that I'm actually a Secret Service agent. I was undercover in your guys to infiltrate your guys' gang for 2 years, and you guys should drop all your weapons. You put me through a great deal of trouble. And he's like, all right, Texan. It's like you don't know Mr. Cudworth. The Texan's name is Cudworth, or should I call you Neil Brunzeniak? Like, I've been undercover for the past 2 years working under you, waiting for your next move. We've got you red-handed this time. International espionage, I believe it's called. Buying and selling stolen national treasures. And that's when a bunch of secret agents show up in their helicopters, and basically they take over the situation. And that's when the Turtles and April show up. The Turtles decide to duck out into the trees. Meanwhile, April goes to go see what's going on. And the secret agent's like questioning Casey. And basically, Casey tells his story about why he was on the case and things like that. And the guy's like, right, okay, I guess everything checks out. But what about your weird-looking friends? Like, how are they involved in this? I want to question them. That's when, April's like, well, like, they were just friends helping us out. They prefer to stay out of the picture, sort of anonymous, you can say. And the secret agent's like, all right, fine. We'll file, we'll let you go this time. We're going to file it under Unmentionables. But next time, mind your own business. And April and Casey are like, yeah, sure, no problem. And they leave. And then that's when we have the Turtles. And they're like, oh, I guess we're the Unmentionables. And that's how it ends. And I guess that's how they got the name of the title. The Unmentionables. So yeah, this was another good issue. Again, I feel like we're getting a lot of one-shots. I mean, obviously, some of those one-shots were from the Tales of Ninja Turtle series, which are one-shots. But I feel like this issue and issue 13, once again, we're not really following any kind of main story. It's pretty much just, hey, like, we fought the Shredder and the Foot Clan, and they kicked the crap out of us, and we had to run away from New York, and we're at Casey's farm. And now this is all the crazy adventures that happened while we were at this farm. But none of the adventures are interconnected in any way. It's just basically a bunch of self-contained story adventures while we're on this farm. So I wonder how long it's going to be before we actually get to them doing something. Like, not just having, I don't want to say meaningless adventures because that sounds too negative. But I guess a bunch of adventures that don't progress the main story. I wonder how many of those we're going to get. I know this seems like I'm being hard on this series. I do like this series, and I do like this issue. So don't think this me, pointing this out like I'm crapping on this issue. Like I enjoy this issue a lot. I thought it was really, really good, really entertaining, like a lot better than issue number 13 and stuff. But I'm just kind of wondering, when are we eventually going to get to the main beef of our story? Because it seems like we kind of, we had like this cool, awesome, amazing issue where it's like basically like the raid, where the Turtles are trying to escape out of April's building while it's on fire, and they're fighting off the Shredder and the Foot Clan, and they barely make their escape with their lives, but in the process they lose everything. They lose their home and all their valuables and stuff like that. And now they're on the run in New Hampshire. They're on the run in Northampton, not New Hampshire. They're on the run in Northampton, and then they just have a bunch of crazy adventures, and nothing really happens. Like, we had some moments where we had, April writing in her diary about how this event affected all the other Turtles, and it looks like they're finally getting better. And then we just kind of stopped that, and we're just having a bunch of crazy self-contained adventures that don't play any part to that story that we left off. So I'm wondering how long it's going to be before we go back to that main story. Hopefully soon. But in the meantime, these are good issues. It's just, this feels like the filler of an anime series. Anyone who watches anime out there, especially, anime that follows a manga, y'all know what I'm talking about. Where basically the series catches up to the manga, so they have to have a bunch of filler to give the manga some time to get more new chapters that they can later adapt. So then you'll have just almost like seasons worth of just filler episodes that don't contribute to the main plot of the story whatsoever. It's just kind of like, almost spin-offs, it feels like. That's kind of what we have here, where it just feels like now we're just having a bunch of filler issues where nothing is happening to progress the main story. It's just a bunch of, here's some crazy adventures our turtles went on. Again, it's not necessarily a bad thing because at least the adventures are really fun and entertaining and well drawn and stuff like that. Like I'm really enjoying them. I just kind of wish we would go back to the main plot. But yeah, I like this issue. It was well drawn. I'm happy to see Eastman back and illustrating and writing again. Not that the other guys did any they weren't terrible like the guys who took over for a while. But obviously, when it comes to the Ninja Turtles, I want Eastman and Laird to be involved. Like I want them to be writing and drawing because it's their creation, and obviously I always want the creator to be the one in charge of his own creation because they're the ones that know more about their series than anyone else. But yeah, there we go. Issue number 14, a good issue. Again, I wish we would go back to the main story, but this was a good, I guess, filler. Is that what you would want to call it? Self-contained maybe might be nicer. This was a nice, good self-contained issue. I like I don't want to say noir, but I like the influence of hard-boiled detective-y kind of stuff, and just the whole like mystery of the cow and the twists and turns that we went along. So yeah, I enjoyed this issue a lot, and so far, yeah, this run has been freaking fantastic. I have yet to read an issue that I hated or I just really disliked. The worst we've had was one where I was just like, this is kind of meh. But that's not, if your worst issue is a meh issue, then I think you're doing a good job, especially if everything else has just been knocking it out of the park. But yeah, there we go. Issue number 14, The Unmentionables, came out in May 1988. I hope you guys enjoyed. Tell me what you guys think. And I hope to see you guys next time. Take care, everybody. Later. So what did you guys think of that video? I hope you guys enjoyed. If you guys haven't already, please subscribe, hit that bell for a notification, leave a like if you enjoyed the video. And if you didn't enjoy the video, thank you for watching it this far, and I hope the next video is more to your liking. Feel free to check out the playlist that you guys see, and I hope to see you guys next time. Later.